Hello there, and welcome back to some more Gran Turismo 5. Today we'll continue on Let's Play, and this is episode 33. In today's episode, we are taking a look at the Gran Tour in the special events, the first and only Gran Tour we have to do. This is a collection of events that go from the Alps into Italy in different cars. We've got some time trials and some races, 5 in total, and some of them are very nice and lovely indeed and let you bake in the Gran Tour, and some of them are absolute abject fucking misery. The first event is one of those, so let's watch a cutscene and then we'll get into that. So, event number 1, the eager Northwind time trial in the Alfa Romeo 8C, and this is quite possibly one of the hardest events to gold in the entire game. If you're doing this casually, not a problem. If you want that 1:17 time, you have to get this time trial inch perfect. Couple of problems. One, the Alfa Romeo 8C, not a particularly great car to drive, and it has stability management turned off for this event, which means it's very tail happy. 2, this track is very unforgiving. You get it right or you get spat out. The driving line is of no help. Essentially the way I had to do this was look up a bunch of videos on how to do this and then basically follow them step by step. Like I say, you need to get this exactly inch perfect to what I do. Otherwise, this will not work. I believe this was actually done over the course of 2 days. That's how frustrated I got with this. Good couple of hours in total spent on that. That particular section is a nightmare, that little kink after the tunnel. These final corners as well are not particularly good. You basically need to be as late on the brakes as you possibly dare be. And then as we come around this final corner, try not to get a snap of oversteer. And there you go, 1:16.963. I think I celebrated quite a lot when I got that done. Yeah, like I say, that, to be fair, that is easily the worst event that you will have to do on the Gran Tour, but it's still an absolute nightmare. On to the next one, which is fortunately a lot less difficult. So for our next event, we are at the historic Monza circuit in a Ferrari 430 Scuderia, which is a fantastic car to take on the Monza circuit, especially this one in white, no red Ferrari for us, because all of our opponents are red Ferraris. As you can see, 16 lap race like you'd expect from the special events. However, this one is a standing start, which is kind of interesting. As you can see, the F40 and the 512BB just get absolutely mobbed at the start. The California Also, watch out for the Enzos in this one is essentially all I'll say. There are a leading pack of Enzos, which can be very irritating, although as you can see I managed to jump pretty much everyone on this first corner, and now I've just got a 458 Italia to chase down, which breaks from this corner for some reason, even though it's perfectly flat out. And then essentially, for the rest of this race, it is all about defending. However, it is a pretty easy race, it has to be said. The 430 Scud is a very nice car to drive. I like the 430 Scuderia quite a lot, it has to be said. A very, very nice, beautiful car. 430 might be... just trying to think about this. My favourite mid-engine Ferrari... well, mid-engine V8 Ferrari, I should say. Maybe. You know, F40's cool, but 430 Scuderia is a very, very nice car indeed. I mean, mid-engine Ferrari for me, peak mid-engine Ferrari for me, is probably the F50. I adore the F50. I know everyone thinks it's heinously ugly and the engine's like getting a washing machine in the back and whatever. Well, it's an absolutely exquisite car in my mind. That was like the car when I was born, so there you go. Well, I mean, technically the McLaren F1 as well, but you know, my opinion on the McLaren F1 has waned over the years, and my opinion on the F50 has been heightened over the years, it has to be said. Yeah, that's truly how interesting this race is. As you can see, we are winning by quite a margin. Monza's a track I like, don't get me wrong, so maybe that is helping my case here, but still, yeah, not a massively difficult thing to go ahead and do. So, just trying to think this. 360 Challenge Stradale is a cool car as well. You know, Ferrari 360, obviously, that was like the current Ferrari. Or one, he was just about coming in when I was born in 97, so the 360 would have been a couple of years off, but you know, when I actually started to realise what cars were, the 360 was I do like the 360, it does look a bit like a frog, but it is a cool car. 355 as well, very, very cool car. I don't know, there's, what I'm finding out as I'm speaking is there's lots of mid-engine V8 Ferraris that I like, basically all of them. The 355, 360, 430. I'm not a big fan of the 458 Italia. F8 Tributo's kind of cool, I guess. 488 was a lot better in my mind. I like the Pista. I saw Charles Leclerc's own personal Ferrari Pista a couple of months ago. That's actually a pretty cool looking car. Basically any Ferrari that isn't red, big fan of. I'd totally do a 355. I actually saw on Auto Trader, this was years ago, I'm assuming it was used by some exotic rental car company. I saw a 355 with 148,000 miles on it. It was a yellow Spider. That blew my mind, the fact that A, a Ferrari can get to that mileage, B, a Ferrari lasts long enough to get to that mileage, and C, the fact that it's a 355 of all the cars, you know, the one that needs the engine out belt service, that would be the one you put the miles on. That's quite spectacular, I guess, but there you go. That pretty much tells you how interesting this event has been, that I've had a big old ramble about Ferraris in general. It's very weird to go from having to deal with the pain of that 8C time trial to go ahead and doing this. I mean, I guess bronze being a third place makes this a little bit more difficult, I guess you could say, if you really don't know what you're doing, but I mean, yeah, it's not particularly difficult. I don't know how much of a margin I had on the cars behind, but it was well over 5 seconds. One would go ahead and assume. In fact, we might find out now. No, never mind. I skipped the timing because I just didn't really care. 97,000 credits. Yeah, the Grand Tour pays out pretty well. No prize cars. It's all photo locations, as you might be seeing pop up every now and again. Anyways, next up, we are on the road once again to Siena. Next up, it's back to the really ridiculously difficult event. It's the Tuscan night race in the Lamborghini Murcielago LP640. You get a standing start, everyone else is already down the road, and you need to win this race. It is only 6 opponents, however. There are several things working against you here. For one, the Lamborghini Murcielago, as was discussed in the IA license video, not a particularly good car to drive in Gran Turismo because it doesn't really know what it wants to do. You get understeer and oversteer all in the middle of the corner, which is kind of terrifying. I played around with the traction control settings quite a lot on this one. I think I ended up running without traction control, but still, it wasn't great. 2, this is Tuscany, which is usually only used for the rally events in a sort of randomly generated sense, so there's no real learning of the track here. It's also at night, which means you can't see an awful lot, and it all just sort of combines to be a pretty abysmal experience. The key thing to this one, as I have mentioned before when it comes to the overtaking AI challenges, is just keep an eye on your margins. So that first checkpoint right there, you want to be 13 seconds or under from the car in front, otherwise, or the car in first place. Otherwise you need to just quit and restart. That's how much you need. On this one it is 9 seconds, and then I believe the next checkpoint it's 6 seconds. You need to be closing rapidly to the car in front, because also this isn't a particularly long stretch of track. Oh sorry, it's 9 seconds still at this one, but the next one, it isn't a particularly long section of track. You really need to get used to where you're going on this one, but also yeah, you just need to be very aware of the fact you've got to get this done very, very quickly, and there is pretty much zero room for error. I wouldn't quite say this is as bad as the Alfa Romeo 8C time trial. It isn't quite on that level, but it's not good. One of the harder AI passing challenges in the entire game, it does have to be said. The final checkpoint is coming up here. I think it was 3 seconds, the gap you want to be at here, around 3 seconds, yep, 3.2 seconds. So you really need to get a move on at this point. I was going a bit helpful over. I can't remember what the lead car is. I don't think the lead car is particularly impressive. It's a 430 Scud. As you can see, finally managed to jump him, but yeah, you know, he's got a better handling car. His car is technically quicker, although the AI are a little bit slow, but even still, this is very difficult. Not a fan of that one, it does have to be said. And again, most of it just boils down to the Murcielago not being a very good car, and the fact that driving at night isn't something I particularly like doing. But there we go. Anyways, another 97,000 in the pot, and we move on to another time trial next. So let's go ahead and get on the road again. Now for a little bit of a change. It's a rally course, Tuscan time trial in the Ford Focus RS WRC car. The car that... no, it's not this one. The car that Marcus Gronholm was almost winning a title in, while Sebastian Loeb had a broken arm in like 2006. I think Gronholm was very consistently second around this era of WRC Championship when, you know, Sebastian Loeb was just winning all of the everything. This one isn't awful. It does have to be said, for a rally time trial, this one is actually surprisingly difficult in this game, but you need to be quick. And one big caveat I need to say about this one is make sure you check your settings before setting off on this time trial, because for some reason, and I don't know why, but in one of the only times in this game that it does this, it's a dirt event, but it will not turn off traction control. Now, trying to drive a car on dirt with traction control is not an experience you wish on anyone. You just will go nowhere. You can't slide the car out, which is basically what you need to do in rally in this game. Yeah, not a pleasant experience. Do not recommend. So definitely be aware of that. Other than that, the first corner, essentially the long corners are your issue in this one. So that first corner, you need to be essentially completely ignoring what the driver's line tells you to do on that corner. You essentially make your own line through it by cutting it massively. And then it's also this long corner towards the end here. That is the other bad bit of this. There's also a little kink right before the end which you need to be aware of, but other than that, this is relatively straightforward. But like I say, you do have to be pretty quick about it, but this is not on the level of that Alfa Romeo 8C one, and as you can see, beat it by almost a second. So once you know your lines, once you know what you're doing, that one is pretty straightforward, and once again, pretty nice break. And I like driving rally cars in this game, even though the game doesn't particularly want you driving them for some reason. Anyways, on to our final destination. And finally, we arrive at the Rome City course for a road race in the Lamborghini Miura, which I remember when I was first playing this game, I was incredibly angry that this wasn't the prize car for going through the entirety of the Grand Tour, because there is no prize car. I really wanted the Miura, but never mind. Anyways, it is another standing start, which, to be honest with you, actually makes this event easier, because the Miura is very, very quick off the line. As you can see, we're up to third already. The cars you compete against in this aren't particularly quick. Lead car is a Lamborghini Countach, which, considering this is a Miura, you'd think that would be a problem, in the same way that the 430 Scud was going against an Enzo. But it really isn't all that much of a problem. There's also a roof, but sort of ignore that because that car falls apart very quickly when it gets to the corners. As you can see, cheeky little dive down the inside, and that's the race. It is only one lap, unlike the 430 Scud race, so make sure you get in front very quickly, but getting in front very quickly, not really an issue. To be honest with you, the event where you have to drive this track in the license test, in I believe it's the 512 BB, where you have to do the 2-lap battle, is actually far more difficult than this is. This is just pretty straightforward, like I say, which is kind of nice, you know. End the Grand Tower off on a very nice note, almost makes you want to do it again, until you remember the Alfa Romeo 8C time trial, which again is one of the worst fucking things in this entire game. So there we go, across the line, first place, done, pretty straightforward, and you get to drive a 15 million credit car, which is not something you get to do very often. I believe this might actually be a prize car at some point in the game, if my memory serves me correctly, but I certainly haven't got it, so... Anyways, 97,000 credits rolling in, and that is the end of that. So, onto the final cutscene of the Grand Tour. Let's end it off. So there we go, we got our lovely Grand Tour trophy, and that's it. Like I mentioned before, no prize cars. All the prizes for this event are the photo locations, although in fairness, making almost 100 grand through every completed event here is a pretty nice bonus. Anyways, that is it for this episode. Thank you all very much for watching. Next time, we finally get to go back to racing and live commentary, which was recorded several months ago, so oh dear God help you all. It's time to get back on with the professional series with the mini challenge, so join us for that. Until then, farewell.
Yes,